All right, today I want to get into the media reports about how floss is not effective. I'm sure a lot of you have heard or read about um, the study. Most of the reports or articles are referring to the Cochrane review, and it's definitely true. The There is no evidence that supports that flossing is effective, but I'll get into that in a second. I just want to share a story. It's probably like maybe 2 years ago or something. There was a report of a study, and it's happened before. It's pretty common. You hear a study about how dental X-rays increase your risk for brain tumors. So this particular one, I decided to read the actual study, and it basically said the way they got the information on how many X-rays the patients were getting was by asking the patients. Now, we all know as hygienists that our patients have no freaking idea what x-rays are they had in the past and how often. The only way to really get that is to go through dental records. So just that fact alone shows you that a lot of studies are based on nonsense. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So when I first read about this flossing is not effective thing, I was like, it's probably BS, I'm sure. Let me just go check it out. So I did check it out, and if you check out the Cochrane study, it does say the summary basically is yes, that there is no evidence, but there are a couple of points to make about that. First of all, there's a big difference between saying there's no evidence showing something is positive, as opposed to saying there's positive evidence that something is negative. In other words, the evidence does not show that flossing is ineffective. There's just a lack of evidence to show that it is effective. Why is that? And these are the points I'll make. One, as we all know, for the most part, perio and dental caries are things that develop over many years. So when you're doing a study, there's an ethical issue of telling the the control group not to floss, knowing that it's going to have a negative health effect on them. So, first and foremost, you have ethical limitations to do that. Two, it's almost impossible to confirm that the study group is actually flossing effectively every day for years. The only way to do that is to actually have a dental professional either watch them every day or to do it for them every day, which it would be crazy expensive. And these studies, for the most, are not doing that. Pretty much, they're just going by self-reporting. And as we know, as hygienists again, self-reporting of patients' oral hygiene habits is pretty much worthless. Um, but I did come across. I didn't find a link to this one particular study, but it was mentioned in a couple of other studies. And for some reason, I'm thinking it was in Europe, but I don't remember. It was basically a program where it was something like maybe like close to 2 years, something like that. They had a study group where they basically had dental professionals flossing these kids in school every school day, so which is not every day, but it's, say 5 out of 7 days minus vacations. So it's not even every day. And then the control group were just the general population. And we all know kids, for the most part, don't floss. So there's not really an ethical problem saying don't floss, kids, because we know they don't really floss anyway. And that particular study did show a 40% reduction in caries rate on primary molars. So at least that one study where you had that expensive way of doing things, having dental professionals actually doing the flossing, did show it some positive effect. The other thing too is some studies might look at it not the Cochrane study, but like some studies might look at it saying, does the act of encouraging patients or recommending flossing actually change behavior? So it's almost like a different question. They're measuring the effect of the advocation of flossing, not so much the actual flossing itself. So sometimes you can confuse what they're actually looking at. So the bottom line is, it's not that flossing doesn't work. It's just that it's difficult to quantify, from a study perspective, that it works. As hygienists and dentists and dental professionals, we see anecdotally that it does work, but that's like, relatively weak evidence in the science world. But it is evidence, and that's all that we have, really, because of these limitations on doing studies on flossing. So it's not that flossing doesn't work. It does work. But you can't really trust the media, because a lot of times the best way to realize that there's a lot of nonsense in the media is to have expertise in something and then read about that in general media, and you'll see how much stuff they get wrong. It's pretty pathetic, actually. Plus, they say flossing. As we know, it's not just flossing. There's all kinds of ways to clean between your teeth. Um, I like water pick personally, oral irrigation, but it's a bunch of stuff you can do. So it's not just flossing. Flossing is not the ideal method for everybody. All right, so that's basically my point. Don't. I'm sure quite a few of your patients have said, "Oh, I heard flossing doesn't work." Well, you can explain to them that it's not true. The media lies, and it's a much more complex answer. All right. See ya.